Mathematics, like it's really oh my mathematics. Doesn't matter what state you're in. The state of California, where I am, we need some help in mathematics when it comes to looking at the concepts and procedures, like how do we compute mathematics, and then how are we thinking in mathematics. So if you're an educator, it doesn't matter what grade you're teaching. If you're elementary and you're thinking, I would rather just teach English language arts, or I would rather teach whatever because it's my area of expertise. I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Doesn't even if you're in middle or high school and this is your specialty. I want you to look at what the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics says about the mathematical practices and what we can do to integrate this in the thinking process of students. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to do a series on how we can get students to think mathematically. And I'm going to start with sample problems that we use on the Smarter Balance assessment here in California. Yes, I will start with third grade, but you can use whatever grade you want, grab your mathematics and have a little fun. And we're going to use some help. Yes, we're going to use an AI platform, ChatGPT, OpenAI's platform. You can use whatever one you want, whether it's Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, or Copilot for that matter. And we're going to upload some problems and then look at the thinking. But I want to show you something first. The state of California's state standards integrates the standards for mathematical practices. It is interesting how they show you the standards for mathematical practices here. You have these overarching habits of mind and how we produce a mathematical thinker. And then we have these 8 mathematical practices. So what is that? We have mathematical practice 1 and 6. And I would argue that if students can't do this, they can't move forward, making sense of the problem and persevering in solving them, and then attending to precision. So no matter what grade you are, whether it's kindergarten, first, second, third grade, like if they're lining up a problem, if it's a graph and making sure that the points on the graph are exactly where they need to be, things like that. And then we have things that you need to think about, like reasoning and explaining, modeling and using tools, seeing structure and generalizing. And then we have the other 8 mathematical practices. But I would argue that we should kind of look at, or not just kind of, look at these mathematical practices if you were looking at the state standards. So if you were looking at the state standards in California, what you see are 8 mathematical practices 1 through 8. Now, I just showed you that it also, if you ever look at these standards, you're going to see them look like this. So at the beginning of the state standards, you're like looking to what? I'm trying to read this. It's very difficult to read. And then every grade level has it listed like this. So it feels confusing. But according to the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, we need to look at the mathematical practices and how we can think and persevere. And they created this umbrella model. And when we look at this umbrella model, we have this overarching theme. In other words, students use mathematical practice 1 every time. Like they need to make sense of this problem, look at the problem, talk about the problem, and then being able to get through the problem. And then we need to do something else with this problem. And typically, I will decide what avenue of thinking. Now, I'm going to come back to this slide, but what I want to show you is that students can reason abstractly and quantitatively, or they can make sense of structure, or they can look for and express regularity in repeated reasoning. One of those avenues. They don't need to do all of them. So I showed you that when you look at the standards, you're thinking, but what about the way it looks when we look at it like this? No one ever said, you mean I don't have to do all of these at once? No, you don't. You just need to choose one of these mathematical practices, avenues of thinking. 2, 7, or 8. Now, no matter what level of teaching, you do need to put this in front of students and teach them the reasoning abstractly and quantitatively, look for and make sense of structure, and then look for and express regularity in repeated reasoning. You need to teach them all of those. And then there's one more thing, that no matter what avenue a student is going to use, once they are really comfortable with all of these, they typically stick with one over time. Then they get creative and they use one of these avenues of thinking. The other thing that they would do is looking at mathematical practices 3, 4, 5, 6, they're either going to construct a viable argument and critique the reasoning of others. They will possibly model the mathematics, use appropriate tools, a graph, manipulatives, attend to precision. Like they should always be doing attend to precision. So in this video, we are going to stick to one area. We're going to start with MP2, reason abstractly and quantitatively. And then we're going to talk about constructing a viable argument and critique the reasoning of others. If I was doing this in front of students and I was writing something on a board, a whiteboard, whether or not I was using some type of technology, if they were using a tablet, I will always attend to precision. So if you're a mathematics teacher, science teacher, an ELA teacher, think about whether you are doing left to right, top to bottom, right to left. It needs to be in a way where it's not all over the place, because we need to model that. So you will always attend to precision. But since I'm not doing that, using an online platform right now, I'm going to stick with construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. So let's talk about what that looks like. And we're going to grab a problem. And yes, we're going to use some support with AI. The Smarter Balanced website has sample items. Now, they're only in grades 3 through high school. There are other websites. So you can Google sample performance tasks, for example, and you'll find some exemplars. This one I really like, exemplars.com. We're going to live here, though, for now. And we're going to choose a 3rd grade performance task, and we're going to stick with communicating and reasoning. And there is a reason why, because typically communicating and reasoning is one of the lowest areas that scored for the claims in the state of California. So we're going to pick one of these. Now there you can see that if I scroll down, this one says multiple choice. This one says short answer. This one says equation, and they all say communicating and reasoning. If you're wondering, well, what are these targets? Well, you can click on any of these targets, and it's basically the thinking behind the math. So let me just go back so I can kind of hover over some of these. So this one says based arguments on concrete reference, such as objects, drawings, diagrams, and actions. So we're going to try this one, and I'm going to select this card. If I want to view the answer, I can. Sometimes the answer doesn't give you enough information. That's why I love ChatGPT, because it'll explain it for you. So click on this. And what you can do, because I want both sides of the problem, I'm going to expand it. And then what I do is I minimize it, and I just kind of take a screen shot of it. And then I'm going to upload it into ChatGPT. Before I get started, I wanted to tell you that on December 7th at 7 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Central time, I'm doing a webinar on ChatGPT and using it to inform professional development as principals and inform instruction as teachers. 45 minutes, then Q&A. You have full access. It's a complimentary webinar. Please join me. You can click on the QR code or scan the QR code, or you can select the link to register. I will see you on that day, December 7th at 9 a.m. Central Time. Now let's get over into the nitty-gritty of ChatGPT. In this demonstration, what I want to do is show you as an educator how to get ChatGPT to, first of all, slow down and help you create a lesson where students can learn how to integrate the mathematical practices. Mathematical practice 1, 2, and 3. So here's what I'm asking ChatGPT to do. And this will be in the description so you can grab it and you can change it however you like. Use the following communicating and reasoning sample problem as a lesson in using MP1, MP2, and MP3 only. We will be using the Standards for Mathematical Practices umbrella model. However, in this demonstration, we will stick to the avenue of thinking, MP2, and navigating the problem-solving process, MP3. During this demonstration, keep me part of the creation of how to do this lesson with students. The students have already learned how to persevere through problems, but we need to make sure we use the language of each standards for mathematical practice. Now, what I'm going to do is go to my computer and I'm going to upload a picture of that diagram, and you can grab the diagram of the umbrella model that was created by the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics with the book on routines for reasoning. So it's not something I created. I just recreated it for a visual that worked for me. And we're going to upload this one. and we're going to upload that problem that we're going to use. And remember, this was the problem that we're going to actually do, going green. So we're uploading this, and I want ChatGPT to keep me part of the process. And now I'm going to ask ChatGPT, let me know you understand. We will be using the sample problem uploaded. I'm going to say, let me know you understand before moving on. Now, if you are not as great at teaching mathematics as you would like to be, you might want ChatGPT to just spit it all out first. And then you can go back and say, I need a little help on this area. I need a little help on this area. I'm also going to say, if you notice, if you haven't seen ChatGPT 4.0 for Omni with Canvas, I'm going to say, be sure to use Canvas. I'm going to minimize this slightly because I want to be able to see it all. I'm not quite sure how fast this will go, but it's pretty fast. Okay, great. So you'll notice that there is two screens here. It's still on the same website, but it allows me to have two windows, excuse me. So when it's telling me that it drafted it, it's telling me that this is what I should see, okay? Now it's saying, I've revised the lesson to ensure your involvement is emphasized throughout. Let me know how you'd like to proceed with shaping the next steps together. Should we focus on group discussions or individual guidance first? Now, I still feel like it's going a little bit too fast because this is a lot, but we're going to go with it. For this demonstration, we'll collaborate closely. And, I so want to actually show you something. I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to go to the edit, and I'm going to say, you presumed this is what I wanted to do. Slow down. Let's chat first. So now I'm telling it, like, you need to slow down because this can be a lot. ChatGPT is like, let me just throw it all at you. And I'm going to leave it. I've adjusted the text, and it says, what ideas do you have so far and how would you like to proceed? Okay, we're going to still look at it. But remember, this was the problem, okay? The Go Green Company held a week-long recycling contest at your school. The grade that collects the most bottles and cans wins the contest. Your task is to determine which grade won the Go Green contest. The items can be recycled as shown: plastic bottles, aluminum cans, and so on. So now we have that part of the question. So now I have to make sure that I have the entire problem, because look, there's more. So now I'm going to minimize this slightly and take a picture of it. Okay. We're going to upload this problem. I'm going to select this one. Here is the entire problem. I want to start with MP2 and ask students questions, thoughts. Consider the questions you have already listed, but we need to do one question only. This is grade 3. Got it. Since we're starting with MP2 and focusing on quantitative reasoning for grade 3 students, let's narrow down our approach to just one question to keep it simple and accessible for them. This is why this is important, because we as educators are like, yeah, got this. Let's just throw 5 questions at them. No, because this problem can be done all week long. With an assumption that you already mastered what tables look like, you might have to ask that question. How many times did 3rd grade collect on Monday compared to Wednesday? So you as a class can look at that. How many times did third grade collect on Monday compared to Wednesday? So you have kids or students talk about that. This question is simple, direct, and will help students begin. I would actually say I want students to just look at the table and discuss within their groups. I want them to create questions they can ask other groups. Now, I'm going to tell you that this is what I would do. We will use Google presentations, and each group will get a slide to ask other groups questions. Other groups will answer verbally and in the notes for each slide. This is called an edu climber, edu protocol, process, not edu climber. That is a whole platform. We want students to talk, discuss, and talk about this table first, like reasoning abstractly, or quantitatively. So I'm telling ChatGPT what I want as an educator, because you're experts at guiding students. Just because ChatGPT recommended it doesn't mean you need to do it. So here it is. Instead of starting with questions we provide, let's allow students to explore the data. Oh, I love this. Look, let's make this slightly bigger. Let's allow students to explore the data in the table on their own. They will work in groups to examine the information and discuss the quantities they see, such as how many items were collected by each grade on each day. Each group will create their own questions based on their observations. These questions will be aimed at other groups, encouraging a collaborative and inquisitive environment. We will use Google presentations where each group will be assigned a slide to post their questions for other groups. The other groups will answer both verbally during class discussions and write their responses in the notes section of each slide. This will help students reason quantitatively and make their thinking visible to others. Like, that's MP2. We just want students talking. And by the time you're finished, you will get them to answer this problem. The next thing is MP3, meaning constructing arguments and critiquing. These two go really well together. They all do, but this one I really like. Once the groups have posted and responded to the question, we will encourage them to justify their answers and explain their reasoning. For example, we believe grade 4 collected the most items overall because they consistently collected a high number of bottles each day. We'll facilitate a class discussion where groups critique each other's argument, focusing on clarity and logic. We can model how to ask constructive questions like, how do you decide which grade collected the most overall? Or did you consider the different types of items collected each day? As an educator, getting kids to talk to each other, you will not only raise their ELA or their English language arts literacy scores, you will get them talking and collaboratively thinking and letting them see how other students think. I already shared with you that we want kids to reason abstractly and construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. That's what we want students to do here. Now, I am going to throw this in the description below and tell me what other ways that I can support you in using the mathematical practices. This is a start to getting students to talk about it's not just about getting to the solution, it's about getting them to talk and think critically over time. These are real world performance tasks. These are things that students might want to talk about, and we're giving them access to the knowledge. Share this video with educational leaders, teachers, and principals. I really want to help support the mathematics and thinking about how you're thinking about mathematics, navigating the problem-solving continuum. and the avenues of thinking. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know how you are using ChatGPT to improve instruction and provide professional development for the teachers at your school site. Thank you so much for watching.